Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. It's Tally Sam. It's nice to see you guys again. Hope you guys are well wherever you are, and if you're in Korea, I hope you're enjoying your time here. So today I wanted to talk about the application form, so especially the lesson plan part, because this is quite a hard part of the application form. So I wanted to go through that and go through the things that I wrote. But hopefully that can help you guys with what to write in this part. I also got a lot of DMs about this as well, so I really wanted to help you guys with this part because yeah, it's not easy. So hopefully this can help. So let's get straight into it, y'all. Okay, so I'm looking at this. So if I'm looking down, I'm looking at my laptop, so I don't get off topic. So looking at the application form, the question is answer both why you want to teach EFL and why you want to teach in Korea. So for this part, if I was to say it in a nutshell of what I wrote, I talked about I would like to teach English in South Korea because not only do I want to learn more about the Korean culture, but I want to be able to develop as a person and also help young students become confident when speaking and using English in everyday life. The reason being is because English is a common used language that people from different countries use to communicate with one another, regardless of whether or not it may be their first language. So I kind of waffled there because also you have to make sure the word count is, But I talked about how I want to help students with their speaking and really help them to learn English because, everyone needs, not everyone, but English is like a language that is spoken in many countries, and it's like a language that a lingua franca that we use to communicate and to speak with other people. So I wanted to help other people be able to learn this. And also another thing I talked about was that I also engaged, when I was at university, I also engaged in various Korean and English language exchange programs. And through this involvement in these groups, I discovered my passion of teaching English to other speakers whose first language is not English. I helped people with grammar and colloquial expressions as many people were interested in learning everyday English. So I also talked about my experiences, like what type of experiences I had in the past when I was at university. I was really interested in learning languages. So through this, I also help people, and that's how I found that I love teaching. And then I said, since discovering this passion of teaching, I want to make EFL a part of my life. South Korea has a lot to offer, from delicious food to beautiful mountains. So make sure you tell them how good Korea is. And I believe South Korea especially will help me to embark on this journey of self-discovering and teaching English, because South Korea's education system is very inspirational and effective. So make sure you add a little sprinkle in there so that they're like, oh, okay, she's saying nice things about us. No, but really it's also how I truly do feel about Korean stuff. So so I talked about, so in the first paragraph I talked about how I want to help other learners. I want to help them to learn English, and then I talked about my experience in university, how I engaged in language exchange programs and how through that I discovered my love for teaching. Third, I also talked, in the third paragraph I talked about Korea and how Korea will help me, because the question is why you want to teach in Korea. So it's why Korea? So I talked about how there's so much Korea has to provide, and how through this I can grow, and also how the education system is good. So I would like to also work together with the education system, if that makes sense. So this is what I had said in that question, and for that the response has to be 250 to 300 words. So I wrote 300 words for that question. Okay, next part. Please teach your teaching philosophy. So what I said for my philosophy is every student deserves a chance at a good quality education that will help them to grow and find their place in the world. I believe a classroom should be a safe environment where students feel free to make mistakes and learn from their mistakes. An environment where every child is treated fairly no matter what background they come from, and a place where students feel free to ask questions, discuss, and enjoy the education. And then I talked about like how I believe the classroom should be a safe environment. It should be a place where students can come and they can learn. And then I also talked in the second paragraph, I talked about how teachers play a core part in a child's development. And teachers must be sensitive towards their students' needs, so emotionally, socially, and physically. A teacher should create an environment where students with different abilities are able to engage in the classroom activities. Students should learn by doing, and that way they will be able to remember what they learn. Through textbook activities and in-class activities, students can learn how to use English in real life experiences. So like this, I talked about how I would want to create the environment in my classroom, what type of environment I would want to create, and how that can help the students to learn. And then I talked about the role, in the third paragraph, I talked about the role of an ESL teacher. And the role is to teach the students the natural way of speaking and using English. In order to do this, I provide various teaching materials to engage the students, such as educational games, PPT presentations, flashcards, and creativity. And I talked about also how like different students learn at different paces. So I have to make sure that my lessons are cater to those students as well. And when you teach as well, there's also different levels. So like in a grade, there could be some classes are maybe a bit higher in English, in their English skills, some are a bit lower. So one thing also to do is to make sure that you adapt your lesson for those different classes. And lastly, I talked about how I believe in praising students for their achievements in class. For example, when they put their hand up and saying the right answer, and this encourages children to keep participating. It's going in the background. Participating in the classroom and shows the student that they are making progress. So yeah, like this is kind of my teaching philosophy that I wrote down in my lesson plan. So one was basically that I want the students to have a good quality education and I want them to feel safe in the classroom. Two is that the role of the teacher. So the teacher really should provide in a classroom that is really engaging with different activities. The role of an ESL teacher is to teach the students the natural way of speaking. So how I would do that? So basically, I would use PPT presentations, flashcard creativity. So how I would basically how I would present my lessons. Another one is I believe, and then lastly I talked about how I would praise the students, because that's really important, praising students when they do well, because it will encourage them to keep participating in the classroom. So that was my teaching philosophy. Okay, state your thoughts in encountering cultural differences. So firstly, I talked about how moving to South Korea will be out of my comfort zone, but I am excited and willing to take the risk because I know it will help me to grow as a person and experience a different culture to mine. So I start off with that little, but I'm happy to do it. And I said how, in my second paragraph, I talked about how I believe through facing cultural differences, it will help me to learn and experience a different way of life that I've never experienced. So I said, like, by doing this, it will actually help me to learn a whole new world, a whole new thing. So yeah, and also it will help me to understand more about the Korean culture and the mannerisms, which in turn will help me to be able to connect more with my students, and it will help me to produce a better teaching experience for them. And then I said, however, one must be realistic. as there could be a slight chance of feeling homesick. And it's true, there is a chance. I talked about, okay, I know that I could feel homesick. It's not, I didn't say, I won't feel homesick, I'll be fine. But I was like, there could be a slight chance of feeling homesick. So I said, in order to overcome this, I hope to meet other teachers who are teaching English in Korea. And this is possible actually through like the orientation, and also through like different groups, like in your city, maybe there'll be a group for you, a group chat, that kind of thing. Just a side note. But I talked about like connecting with other teachers and also asking my co-teacher for some advice, as they might have had experience helping other homesick EFL teachers, because depending how long your co-teacher has been in the job, they would have probably worked with other teachers. So also asking them for help would be helpful in dealing with homesickness, I said. And I said that I think cultural differences are a learning curve. So this is also like part of talking about misunderstandings, because these things can happen, right, from two people from different cultures. So I've talked about how, for example, if a situation where I'm trying to read and say, if a situation like where there is cultural misunderstandings or differences, like this kind of thing happens, I'll explain why I did a certain thing in that way and apologize to them, and ask them to explain how it should be taken care of in the Korean way. So it's like, if I did something that, like, you know, that was wrong, I would ask them to explain to me how I should do it better next time and how it's done in Korea. So I would act in an appropriate way that's in line with the Korean culture. So yeah, just having an open mind is really important, and just being able to being understanding, and being able to adapt as well is important. So regardless of what experience I may come across, I'm willing to face it face to face, and overcome it with a smile. That's what I said. Some parts are just a bit wordy, but I had to get that word out, you know what I'm saying? Okay, so next part is talking about the questionnaire. How did you learn about Epik program? That part, I don't need to go through that part with you guys. Okay, the lesson plan. Okay, the real lesson plan. So my one was actually about elementary students. So my grade level that I wanted to teach was elementary, and the ability level is beginner. And the lesson topic that I had chosen is animals at the zoo. So in the part where it says previous class, I talked about what the previous class would have been, which would have been insects in the park. So during this lesson, the students would have learned about what insects are and how to identify an insect from other creatures. And we would explore insects found in the park, such as grasshoppers, bees, flies, wasps, ladybirds, ants, butterflies, and mosquitoes. And using the key expressions that will be also used in the lesson plan, students could express their opinion of these insects. This current lesson will carry on with the topic creatures and animals, but different types of animals found in a zoo. Both of these lessons help the students envision animals they can find in their everyday environment. So this is what I said in like the previous lesson section, so what they would have learned in the previous lesson. Additional handouts, I said PPT presentation handout is attached to the email. So what would I want to achieve by the end of this class? So the objective by the end of the class, students will be able to section name all the animals discussed in the PPT. Know what sounds certain animals make, and be able to identify the name and picture of the animal with the sound it makes. And lastly, the students will be able to state what their favorite animal is using the key expression. So I talked about what I want to achieve by the end of the lesson. Okay, so the key expressions that I talked about was question, what is this? And this is the answer. So question and answer. And 2, what sound does a something make? What sound does a snake make? And then the answer would be a snake makes a sound, for example, like this. So kind of question and answer. And then 3 would be, what is your favorite animal? And the answer, my favorite animal is a something something. So these are the 3 key expressions that I want to use in my lesson. And the key vocabulary were duck, lion, horse, snake, giraffe, and a dolphin. And the sounds that they make. Sounds quack, roar, neigh. So like this, these are the sounds. So I said the introduction would be 10 minutes. So I said, what were we learning about last lesson? So I said this in the lesson plans, that I would ask them this question, and then I would choose one of the students to answer, and when they answer insects, then I will ask the following question: what is an insect? And ask them to put their hand up to answer this. After this, I will get out the flashcards I used last lesson with a picture of the insect on one card and the name of the insect on another card. So picture of a snake, and then on the other side, snake. And then I'll stick all the matches on the board. Then I will ask the students questions using the key expressions from the previous lesson. For example, what insect is this? And I'll ask the students to answer using the key expressions from last lesson that I will hold up on a flashcard, which will say, this insect is... Then I will introduce the students to today's lesson. I will say, so in today's lesson, we'll look at animals, and I'll ask the students, can someone tell me what is an animal? And then see if they can explain to me what an animal, what the animal is. So this is basically the greetings and the review. I'll review last lesson's last lesson's class to see what they remember. And then I would also bring out the flashcards that have the name of the animal on one side. On the other side, they have the picture of the animal. Okay. So the presentation, I said that I would do presentation for 25 minutes. Wow, this is such a big section. So this part is basically the lesson, so the lesson that we would be doing on that day. And for that, I will talk about so for example, the question, what insect is this? And then the answer is, this is a blah blah blah. So this was basically what insect is this, is basically the expression that I would have used last time, because we're learning about insects last time. But this time we're learning about animals, right, that would find in a zoo. So I would ask, what animal is this? So using like a similar type of expression, so it's not too confusing. What animal is this? And they will shout, this is a lion. So like this, and it would go through all the different animals. So the snake, giraffe, like all these things that I said I would do. So kind of like that. And then I would go over the sounds. So what sound does a lion make? And then ask the students to imitate the sound. So roar, for example, like this. Especially if it's elementary, one thing about elementary is exaggeration. So it's really about being roar. And what sound does an animal make? No, what sound does a snake make? It's really about being exaggerated for elementary. So that's one thing to remember when you're teaching, when you're teaching in the interview, because elementary is really the young children who are like under 10. So you really need to have a lot of expression. But I teach middle school, so you don't need to do any of that. But my lesson plan was for elementary, so just showing you guys how you could teach it. Next section will be practice. So I said next part would be, what is your favorite animal? So I would ask them, what is your favorite animal? And the answer is, my favorite animal is so basically asking this question, and then I would ask one student to be A, one student to be B. So one student, like amongst themselves, the students would practice this question. And then so whilst they're doing that, I'll go around the class checking if they have any errors or anything. I said I would correct them on the spot. And then after that, I will split the class into girls versus boys for the next part of the practice section. We'll play the game Bang. So I don't know, in the UK we play this game where you have a gun like this and you go bang. So basically it will be two students back to back and forming a gun position with their hands. I'll use this time to recap the key expressions the students used to learn the names of the animals. So what animal makes this sound? So the student with the flashcard with the animal sound will make the sound, and then the first student, so there'll be one student with a flashcard and then two students back to back, and then they have to guess. So like, what animal makes this sound? And then the student with the flashcard will say roar, and then the two students are back to back will have to go and say bang, and then the answer bang, a lion, like this. So this is like the game I would play with the students. So that's what I would do for my practice section. Practice section is all about practicing the language, so practicing the language that you've taught them. So in this section, before we go on to production, I recommend that the students talk between themselves. So first you have presentation, right? Presentation is you as a teacher teaching them the language. You're teaching them all the language, and they're like repeating after you, that kind of thing. Then practice is for them to practice amongst themselves. So the best way for them to do this is with their partner. So it's best for them to practice with a partner so that they don't feel like shy or anything, but they can kind of build up that confidence using the language. And then production is basically, okay, they have they have a little bit of confidence, they've practiced it with someone else, maybe Q&A. So one person asks the question, one person answers, and then it's like they have that kind of experience. And then you can go into production. So production is basically using the language now, so using it like freely. So for production, I said for this last part of the lesson, I'll put the students in 5 groups of 6, and I will cut out pieces of a paragraph that uses the key expression used in the lesson. So for example, there'll be the questions and then the answers. So the paragraph will state, what animal is this? This is a lion. What sound does a lion make? A lion makes a roar sound. So like, basically it will be all split kind of thing. So yeah, so basically there'll be just different like slips with different parts, and then the students have to, so one student asks the question, what sound does a lion make? And then the other student has to say, a lion makes a roar sound, for example. So at the end, I said that I would gather, so after they've done the activity, they would come back together. I'll basically do like a feedback to see what they were doing together, what they learned, and kind of going over that as well. So yes, okay, summary and closing. So I said in this part, did I say time? This part said 5 minutes. At this stage, we will revisit the PPT presentation on slide 4, where the students hear the sound the animal makes. For example, I'll ask, what animal is this? And I'll put them to reply using the expression, this is so it's checking to see what they've learned, checking for those objectives that you said in the beginning of the lesson you want them to be able to do. So it's checking, so basically this part. After completing the entire lesson, as the children leave the classroom, I will stand at the door and ask them one of the expressions. This is also another form of checking. So like this is really checking one-on-one to see what they learned, to see if majority of the class grasped the key expressions, or I'm like trying to hide them like these ads, to see if the like majority of the class like grasped the key expressions. This is a good way. So standing at the door, you stand at the door, and then as the students leave the classroom, you ask them questions, and then you can see if they kind of got it. Okay, so yeah, this is basically my lesson plan with me just verbally telling you it. I hope that it was helpful in some type of way. If you have any questions about your lesson plan or what you would like to do for it, then please let me know. So my lesson plan, this was for elementary level, and elementary is 40 minutes. So yeah, and then middle school is 45 minutes. So if you have any questions, feel free to ask me in the comment section or even through the DMs. I'm happy to help you guys with the lesson plan. And if you have any other videos that you want me to do, please let me know and I can do that for you. Yeah, so I hope this video is helpful for you guys. And if you guys are still you haven't done your TEFL and you're thinking, oh, who should I do my TEFL with? I recommend that you would do it with ITTT, so ITTT. Say it nice. Say it twice. So ITTT. They are an online TEFL provider, and they won the TEFL Provider Award for the Best TEFL Provider Award in 2021. So they are really well known, and you can get a 10% discount with me, not with me, but with them. If you click on the link below in my bio, you can get a 10% discount, and I recommend that you do the 120-hour course, which is the course that you would need for Epik and for the application. So yeah, you can take that test and get a little discount off. And hopefully you guys will also subscribe for more videos and keeping tuned with how everything is going on this side. So I really wish you guys all the best, and hopefully see you soon in the next videos. Okay, annyeong.